There was a time when the Canadian dream meant stability, a modest home, a steady job, and hope for your children's future. It was a vision that promised a life of comfort and security, where hard work and dedication were rewarded with a sense of belonging and peace of mind. Families gathered around dinner tables sharing stories and laughter, confident in the belief that tomorrow would be better than today. It was never about wealth or fame, but about fairness and opportunity for all. The dream was rooted in the idea that everyone, regardless of their background, could find a place to call home and a community to be part of. It was a promise of equality, where the playing field was level and everyone had a fair shot at success. For generations, this dream was real and attainable, drawing people from around the world. Immigrants arrived with hope in their hearts, eager to contribute to a society that valued diversity and inclusion. They unpacked their dreams alongside their belongings, ready to build a new life in a land that welcomed them with open arms. It built our middle class and defined our national optimism. The Canadian dream was a beacon of hope, lighting the way for countless families who believed in the promise of a brighter future. It was a time when communities thrived, and the spirit of togetherness was palpable in every neighborhood. But today, that promise feels out of reach for many. The landscape has shifted, and the dream that once seemed so attainable now feels elusive. The cost of living has soared, and the gap between the haves and have-nots has widened, leaving many to wonder if the dream is still within their grasp. The pillars of the dream, a home, a good job, a secure future, are slipping away. The foundation that once supported the dream is crumbling, and the sense of security that families once felt is now overshadowed by uncertainty and doubt. Young people, new immigrants, and even established families find the old rules no longer apply. The path to success is no longer clear, and the challenges they face are more daunting than ever before. The dream that once united us now seems to be slipping through our fingers. Quiet confidence has turned into quiet anxiety. The optimism that once defined our nation has been replaced by a sense of unease, as families grapple with the realities of a changing world. The dream that once inspired hope now feels like a distant memory. The Canadian dream, once a unifying force, now divides those who have from those who fear they never will. The divide between the wealthy and the struggling has grown, creating a chasm that threatens to tear at the fabric of our society. We must face this reality. It is time to come together as a nation and address the challenges that threaten to undermine the dream that has defined us for so long. We must engage in open dialogue and work collaboratively to find solutions that will restore hope and opportunity for all. To reclaim the dream, we need to understand how and why it faded. We must look to the past to learn from our mistakes and chart a new course for the future. By examining the factors that have contributed to the erosion of the dream, we can begin to rebuild it, stronger and more resilient than before. The stability we once took for granted is now what we must fight to restore. It is a battle that requires the collective effort of all Canadians, as we strive to create a society where the dream is not just a memory, but a reality for generations to come. The heart of our struggle is simple. Costs keep rising, but paychecks don't. Every month, more and more Canadians are feeling the pinch as their hard-earned dollars just don't stretch as far as they used to. It's a quiet crisis unfolding in kitchens and living rooms across the country, as families try to make sense of how their budgets keep coming up short. Groceries, gas, rent, everything costs more, but wages lag behind. The price tags at the supermarket climb higher, the numbers at the gas pump tick up, and rent checks swallow a bigger chunk of every paycheck. Essentials that once felt manageable now seem out of reach for many. The gap between what we earn and what we need is the squeeze of our time. It's not just about numbers on a page. It's about the stress that builds when you're forced to choose between paying the hydro bill or buying fresh food for your kids. It's the anxiety of watching your savings dwindle, or the frustration of seeing your paycheck disappear before the month is even over. Decades ago, one income could support a family. Now, two often aren't enough. In the 1970s, a single breadwinner could provide a comfortable life, but today, even with both parents working full-time, many families still struggle to cover the basics. The dream of upward mobility feels further away than ever. Canadians aren't working less, they're working harder, juggling multiple jobs just to get by. Over time, side hustles and late nights have become the norm, not the exception. The promise that hard work leads to a better life is fading, replaced by exhaustion and uncertainty. But a dollar earned today buys less than it used to. Compare a grocery receipt from a decade ago to one today, and the difference is staggering. Seniors on fixed incomes, young families, and single parents all feel the sting as their purchasing power erodes. This erodes families' ability to save, invest in education, or weather emergencies. When every cent goes to covering the basics, there's nothing left for the future. No college fund, no rainy day savings, no cushion for when life throws a curveball. It's not just bad luck, it's the result of policies that favor capital over labor. Decisions made in boardrooms and government offices have tilted the playing field, making it harder for everyday Canadians to get ahead while profits soar for a select few. We've celebrated corporate profits but ignored how gains are shared. The stock market may be booming, but those gains rarely trickle down to the people who keep the economy running. Workers see their productivity rise, but their paychecks stay flat. The economy may look strong on paper, but for many, it's unsustainable. Behind the headlines of growth and prosperity, there's a growing sense of unease, a recognition that the system isn't working for everyone. The dream can't survive if hard work no longer pays off. If we want a future where everyone has a fair shot, we need to rebuild the link between effort and reward. We need to restore the link between effort and reward. That means fair wages, better protections, and policies that put people first, not just profits. It means making sure that when the economy grows, everyone shares in the benefits. Otherwise, the squeeze will only get tighter. If we don't act, more families will be left behind, and the promise of a better life will slip further out of reach. It's time to demand change, so that every Canadian can thrive, not just survive. Nowhere is the decline of the Canadian dream more visible than in the struggle for housing. For generations, owning a home was a symbol of stability and success, a milestone that marked the transition into adulthood and security. Today, that dream feels increasingly distant for millions of Canadians. Homeownership, once the bedrock of security and a source of pride, is now out of reach for many, especially young families and first-time buyers. The simple hope of having a place to call your own has become a daunting challenge. Over the past decade, prices have soared far beyond what most can afford. Wages have not kept pace, and the gap between income and housing costs grows wider every year. Even renting is becoming unaffordable in many cities. The job market has shifted dramatically as well. Stable, long-term work with benefits is increasingly rare, replaced by short-term gigs, part-time contracts, and freelance work. Many Canadians now juggle multiple jobs just to make ends meet. This instability makes saving for a home nearly impossible. With unpredictable income and rising living costs, even those who work hard find it difficult to put money aside for the future. To cope, Canadians have turned to debt. Mortgages, credit cards, student loans, and even payday loans. Borrowing has become a way to bridge the gap between what people earn and what they need to survive. But this debt isn't about reckless spending. For most, it's about survival. It's about covering basic needs, housing, education, groceries, and childcare, when paychecks just don't stretch far enough. The burden of debt leaves families vulnerable to sudden shocks, like job loss, illness, or rising interest rates. A single unexpected event can push households to the brink, threatening everything they've worked for. Housing costs, precarious work, and high debt form a vicious cycle that's hard to escape. Each problem feeds the next, making it harder for families to get ahead or even stay afloat. The result? A generation locked out of opportunities their parents took for granted. Many young adults are forced to delay milestones like moving out, starting families, or building careers, simply because they can't afford to take the next step. The dream of stability has become a reality of constant financial anxiety. For too many, the future feels uncertain, and the pressure of making ends meet overshadows hopes for a better life. To restore hope, we need a new foundation for prosperity, one that makes housing affordable, jobs secure, and debt manageable for all Canadians. The challenges we face aren't just market forces, they're the result of a system tilted toward the wealthy. Tax rules and regulations favor those with assets, not those who work for a living. Investment income is taxed less than wages, widening the gap between the asset-rich and everyone else. This fuels cynicism and erodes trust in our institutions. When people see profits soar but their own situations stagnate, faith in fairness crumbles. The dream was built on the idea that everyone had a fair shot. But when the system feels rigged, that belief fades. We risk becoming a nation of insiders and outsiders. Recognizing this imbalance is the first step to restoring opportunity. The pressures on the Canadian dream aren't felt equally everywhere. Our biggest cities, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, are magnets for jobs and newcomers. But they're also epicenters of the affordability crisis. Rapid population growth has outpaced housing and infrastructure. People face a tough choice: move to the city for work and pay sky-high rents, or live farther out and face long, costly commutes. The dream of a good job and an affordable home in a vibrant community is slipping away. This urban squeeze strains families, increases congestion, and weakens community ties. We've welcomed growth without planning for it. Successful cities are essential for Canada's future, but they must be livable for all. The urban crush is a problem we created and one we must solve together. Planning and investment are key to making cities work for everyone. The Canadian dream is also threatened by a lack of competition in key sectors. Telecom, banking, groceries, just a few big players dominate, driving up prices. This isn't inevitable, it's the result of policies that allowed consolidation and blocked new competitors. Fewer choices mean higher costs for families and less innovation. Canadians pay more for basics than people in other countries with more competition. Stronger competition would lower prices and improve services. We need policies that put consumers first, not just corporate giants. The problems are big, but solutions are within reach. First, we must build more homes, faster, and of all types. We need to make work pay, with stronger labor laws and better training. Our tax system should reward work, not just wealth, close loopholes and tax capital gains fairly. The revenue can fund childcare, transit, and other essentials. We must also break up monopolies and encourage real competition. These aren't radical ideas, they're practical steps to restore fairness. The Canadian dream can be rebuilt, but only if we act boldly. No one can fix this alone. Restoring the Canadian dream takes all of us. Governments, businesses, unions, and citizens must work together. We need a national strategy, not a patchwork of local fixes. Businesses must invest in their workers, not just their bottom line. Civil society, unions, nonprofits, individuals must push for change. We must demand more from our leaders and reject division. Collaboration is part of our national identity. Canada has a history of coming together to solve big problems. The challenges today are just as great. Our future depends on what we do together, not alone. The Canadian dream stands at a crossroads. The promise of stability and opportunity is strained, but not lost. The problems, housing, jobs, inequality, are daunting, but not insurmountable. We can't afford despair. We need action. The dream must be renewed for our time, grounded in dignity, community, and hope for the next generation. We have the resources and talent. What's needed is the will to act. This is a call to every Canadian. Engage, demand better, and help build a fairer future. Affordable homes, good jobs, and shared prosperity are possible. The Canadian dream was never a guarantee, it was a project. Now it's our turn to pick up the tools and get to work. Let's begin.